I'm Amy Johnson, and this is
Sam Johnson.
Out of the Cold Winter Air by Reverend Gretchen Haley.
Out of the cold winter air we go gather
As people have gathered for centuries.
in time of darkness to call out for the light.
In this gathering of friends, let us take these few moments we have set aside to breathe deeply, pause in preparation, welcome the stillness, honor this wintertime as a season of mystery, absence, and silence. Allow ourselves to be stripped bare like, Sam, be quiet, please. Allow ourselves to be stripped bare like the trees and the rose bushes. Rest, reflect, surrender into grace. Come.
Let's
Don't.
as
Come, let us worship together.
let us worship together.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light shining, show to us beauty, wisdom and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light shining, show to us beauty, wisdom and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light shining, show to us beauty, wisdom and joy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Lonsdorf, and I am the UUC's board past president. And I want to welcome everyone here tonight to our congregation, the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Eau Claire. And we are a religious community who commits ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human difference, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all those who gather together and treasure the freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. And we extend a special welcome to our visitors today. And we hope that you'll follow our Facebook page to participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes. Please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comment section on our Facebook page where you could sign up. Also, families can follow the UUC Religious Exploration Facebook page, and there are religious exploration classes for 4K and 8th grade and youth group every Wednesday online for middle school and high school youth. So we're all glad that you decided to join us tonight. So we're all here to gather together to celebrate the winter solstice. So what does that mean? Well, the winter solstice, or Yule, as it was called in a more ancient name, the longest night and the shortest day of the year. In northern climates, this is the darkest and coldest times of the year. The sun seems to be weak, even dying, and we fear winter will last forever. But just as soon as the solstice passes, the days begin to grow longer again. And the solstice is the turning point in the wheel of the year, when the sun symbolically dies and is reborn from the womb of the goddess, or whatever you want to believe. To many, the darkness is not something bad or something to fear. Of course, we wouldn't want the world to be in darkness all the time. And that's why we're so happy when the sun begins to return after the long nights of winter. Light and dark must always be in balance, but we know that without dark, nothing could live or grow. Without night, we would have no day, no chance to rest and to sleep. Babies develop in the dark of their mother's womb, and seeds must be put in the dark earth in order to send out roots and push up new shoots. Tonight is a time to honor the dark time of the year and the beginning of our earth shifting towards the light.
And now we'll do the chalice lighting. The reading is A Blessing of Darkness and Light by the Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Blessed is the dark in which our dreams stir and are revealed. Blessed is the dark of earth where seeds come to life. Blessed are the depths of the ocean where no light shimmers, the womb of all earthly life. Blessed is the light into which we awake, the light that sparkles on the waters, that calls the tree forth from the seed and calls the shadow forth from the tree. Blessed are we as we move through darkness and through light.
Hi, I'm Danny Higley, and this is Meditation on the Four Directions by Reverend Julia Hamilton. We begin in the east, toward the rising sun. We look for a fresh start, an invigorating breath, a new idea. When you are feeling stuck in a rut, beholden to routine, or if the wind has gone out of your sails, look eastward. We move around the wheel to the south, turning toward warmth and daylight, seeking out the changes that will warm us up, get our blood moving, call us out of our winters, out of hibernation, and into action. Continuing around the circle, we arrive in the west. When we dam up our feelings, just like when we dam up a river, the pressure builds until it finds an outlet. If you are seeking to get in touch with your inner life, with your emotions, turn towards the west. We move now to the north. The north calls to you if you are seeking balance, the deep wisdom that lives in your bones, a place of rest and recovery. And finally, we look above to the stars, to spirit. This day is especially magical because it is the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, ushering in a completely new energy and allowing us to move forward into it if we choose. It hasn't happened like this in almost 800 years. We light this candle in celebration of spirit and the new energy rising. And now I'm going to light the Yule log. So some say that Yule comes from the Old English, Saxon, and Norse words meaning wheel. The ancients saw the turn of the seasons as the turning of the sacred wheel of the year. Others say Yule is a Norse word meaning to yell. Saying this was how the ancients called back the wandering sun. German linguists said the old name for December as Yule, hence Yule. This Yule log was traditionally cut from an oak tree, the sacred tree of Druids. Gilded evergreen was added to represent the birth of the new year, and there is a black ribbon to represent the death of the old, and holly was used to represent the Holly King. We burn the log to welcome the return of the sun. Maybe. We maybe do. We maybe do. That's why we do it fire safe.
Well, we have had occasional issues with the sun returning in the timely manner. So I would like to take our time to kindle our concerns. Ours is a spiritual community where we find and forge connection. We trust in the strength of our mutual support and knowing how it has sustained us day after day, year after year. Today, we hold in the light of those affected by COVID-19, and we lift up all our essential workers and those who care for others during this difficult time. And we lift up our congregational community as we work to be together while safely apart. So now I want to invite folks to recall the names of persons or places that you are holding in your hearts, and either as a source of concern or a cause for celebration. And as you feel moved, you can put those in the chat, and I will attempt to also look at the chat in the Facebook feed. And I will share and simply state the names of those persons and places that you share in that space. I'll give space for that now. I see Carolee and Lowell, and I lift up a friend fighting serious COVID pneumonia. Darlene and Steve Fry, Dad. Theo, Becca, Dakota. Oh. Apparently, Don Mowry, Grandpa McNally, Anna Martin. And if I missed any, I apologize. Apparently, I can't look at chat and be on the video on my phone at the same time. So that's a technical limitation there. Connie Thomas Kemmer. Marcos Stella Flores. Donna Coy. Amy S. and baby Marley. Sandra Gear. Krista. Jack. And Mary. And Wendell Thomas, dear Uncle Wendell. And these names, and so many more, have been heard and honored together tonight in this community. And alongside these, we know and are certain joys and sorrows that remain private or unspoken, and those too have a rightful place here. And may this fellow feeling encourage each of us towards ever more compassionate living. This kindled lamp reminds us that here we are kindred souls. We are never alone in the human condition. There is a love that cares for us all. We end our kindled concerns with these words, which you may recognize. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Now is our story for all ages. Amanda will start us with the story.
Thank you. So we have a story for everyone, and I think we can all enjoy it this year. Once upon a time, there lived people who loved the light. As soon as the sun rose every morning, they were up to welcome it, singing songs of celebration for the light. And when the sun went down each evening, they sang other songs, sad songs, songs of missing the light of the sun. They loved the light so very much. They did not love the darkness. Once darkness fell every night, they would hurry to their beds. And since they could only bear the darkness when they were sleeping, even then, total darkness was frightening to them. And so they always kept a fire burning in every room. The people's dearest wish was that the sun would not set in the evening, that darkness would never fall. And every day the sun set and they sang their sad songs, and they endured the fearful, sad, strange darkness until they could greet the sun again the next day. Now, in this land, born were two remarkable children. They were twins. One was a girl, and she seemed to shine from within. And whenever she entered a room, everything seemed to get a little bit brighter. And the people loved her very much. The other was a boy, and he seemed to bring darkness with him. Whenever he entered a room, everything seemed a little dimmer, and the people did not like him. They feared him because he reminded them of the great darkness of the night. But although the people loved the girl and did not love the boy, the twins loved each other very much. And because the girl loved her brother so very much, the people mostly let him be, even though they were afraid of him.
Now, as they grew, it became clear that these children were in fact magical children. Do you hear that, Ficelli children? They were magical children. The girl had the power to bring life back when it was harmed or lost. When she was a very small child, she could heal small cuts and bruises. When she grew a little older, she could heal broken bones and other large hurts. And by the time she was a teenager, she could make the crops grow faster and larger and fuller. I bet there's a lot of farmers that would have liked her around here. She could bring plants and animals that had died back to life. The people suspected that she could even bring people back to life, but they were a little afraid to ask, and she didn't offer. The boy, on the other hand, had the power to calm and quiet anything. When he was a very small child, he could help his family go to sleep more quickly, thus saving them from the fear of the darkness. When he was a little older, he would calm animals when they were frightened and make them still. Sometimes he would go first to an animal or a person who was hurt and help them to be calm, though calm enough for his sister's healing magic to work. And by the time he was a teenager, he could calm storms and winds and rains, and he could bring anything to stillness. The people's love for the light and fear of the darkness only grew with time, perhaps more strongly with the twins always before them to remind them. And so one day they decided to ask the girl for a favor. They asked her to see if her magic could hold the sun in the sky and stop the night from coming. The girl was reluctant, but after many, many months of being asked, just like asking, she finally decided to try, just to get the people to leave her alone. One day, just as the sun was at its highest point, she went out onto the top of the highest hill in the land, and she threw her arms up into the sky. And she asked the sun to stop. Stay right there on top of the sky forever.
and she wasn't immediately sure if anything had happened. The sun usually moves so slowly, but before very long, it became clear that something had happened. The sun had stopped in the sky. The people were overjoyed. There was a big celebration, and they sang all of their songs celebrating the sun, and they loved the girl even more, at least at first. For the first week or so, everyone was happy and content, but soon they began to get tired. Although they had always slept with a fire to ward off the darkness, sleeping in the full light of the sun was a whole nother thing. They tossed and turned and woke up constantly. Some of them remembered that the boy could help with sleep and asked for his aid, but his power to bring sleep seemed to have disappeared along with the darkness. After about a month, the exhausted, frustrated people began to see that this constant sunlight was a problem. Though they still loved the light, they began to wish that the sun would once again move in the sky. Each person at first thought that they were the only one who thought this. And given the people's love of the light and fear of the darkness, everyone was afraid at first to say anything about this growing longing for nighttime. But slowly and softly, as they began to confide in each other, they discovered that everyone felt the same way, and they finally decided that something must be done. They went back to the girl and asked her to get the sun to move again. And it was her magic that had stopped it, so they figured her magic could make it move again. So she went back up on top of the highest hill, threw her arms up into the sky, and asked the sun to move. But nothing happened. And she tried again, and a third time, but still the sun stayed still. And she turned to the people and told them there was nothing that she could do. There was a long moment of growing panic before the boy stepped forward. "Let me try," he said very softly. And everyone thought about it for a moment and then decided it was a good idea. So he took his sister's place on top of the highest hill and threw his arms up in the sky and asked the sun to move. The sun began to move at once and rushed towards the western horizon. Within 10 minutes, it had set, and within 15, it was full dark night.
Now the people were caught pretty off guard. They had all come to the top of the hill to see if the girls' magic would work. They had no fires lit. They hadn't needed them in weeks. They had nothing with them to light their way. They had never been outside at night before, and they were terrified. At first, they tried rushing home to get away from the darkness, but they soon discovered that rushing when you can't see where you're going is a pretty bad idea. So they slowed down, and they still peered at the ground, trying to get home as soon as they could. But then one of them looked up. "Oh," she exclaimed, "look!" And everybody looked up. And then they saw all the stars for the first time. They had never been outside at night before, and they had no idea how incredibly beautiful a sky full of stars was. They all stopped hurrying home. They stared up in wonder, and then they realized how very tired they were. And so slowly now, with more reverence, they started home again. They all slept for a very long time. The people rested and were glad and appreciated the darkness for the first time in their lives. Eventually the sun rose again as it did, and the people got out of their bed and they sang songs to celebrate the coming of the light. But then at the end of the day, the sun began to sink toward the horizon, and they did not feel like singing their sad songs. Instead, one of the musicians began singing a new song, a slow, quiet song of thanksgiving for the night. And soon the others joined in, and it became their new sunset song. And the boy and the girl grew up to be adults, and both of them were now beloved by the people. Looking at them, still the best of friends, as well as siblings, the people remembered that the light and darkness are best in balance. The end. So that's a special solstice tradition, telling stories by candlelight and hearing about the world of light and darkness. And one tradition that is in our congregation is that on these special winter celebrations, on the solstice service and on the Christmas Eve service, we have a collection for the minister's discretionary fund. And you might say, what is a minister's discretionary fund? Does that mean that Julie gets to go shopping? And no, that's not the purpose of that fund. What happens is that people come to me in times of need, and I try to connect them to community services and ways to be helped. But there's not always a way to pair people up, and people have sometimes small needs. And what this does, on these occasions, I can access the minister's discretionary fund. It might be a personal request for emergency gas money or a car repair, taxi vouchers or utility bills, or even rental assistance for our members. I remember one winter I was able to help someone with their mortgage payment so they didn't lose their home. So these small gifts really add up and really can make a difference in people's lives. So whether this request is from an individual who is a member or from the outside, this fund helps them. You can donate online at uueauclair.com or text to give at 84321. Checks can also be mailed to UUC. Thank you for helping me spread the generosity of this congregation. Even when we're sitting so far apart from another, I can feel the connection of the light, the return of the light. And thank you for helping me spread light into people's lives. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. And our music for giving this evening is Rising Green, done by Danny Higley.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins, boundless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the measures of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winking my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days
This reading is the Winter Solstice Meditation by Lynn Cox. We pause as the path of the sun reverses, seemingly holding its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness at the winter solstice. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey to the world below the surface. Here we find acorns cached by squirrels and chipmunks, perhaps to be food laid in store, or perhaps to become trees in the fullness of time. We find the burrows of hibernating animals, those who sleep and repair. We find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wait through frost and ice. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share these gifts with one another. Our imagination rises back to the surface, to where the cold ground meets the crisp air. Here, we observe life finding its way. We observe animals eating seeds left on the ground, though the harvest is long past. We notice the migration of birds, natural movement that allows populations to find places where they can thrive. We observe the trees that appear to sleep and yet hold sap that will rise again before the spring arrives. We observe that not everything lives through the winter, and yet all that has lived returns to the earth and is transformed.
Let this be a time of resilience. May the changing season bring the new meaning and new insights. May creativity and persistence lead us to find resources for all to share. May those who migrate find safety, and may there be good news in the wind. May transformation lead us onward. Now lift up your imagination to the sky and to the returning sun and to the brilliant winter nights. Shifting hours of light and darkness remind us that change is a part of the rhythm of the universe. And so the trouble does not last. And acknowledging the gifts of darkness, we also look forward to the growing light, a change that brings glimmers of hope. We marvel at the beauty of this time and stars unobstructed by leaves, jewels of the night, shining over the land, moon and meteors, inspiring us to awe and wonder. Let this be a time of celebration. What joy can be found, and let us hold it close. Blow on its embers and share its spark. We did not take for granted having come this far, and we give thanks for our companions on this journey. And tonight in particular, being the winter solstice, wanted to take a moment to meditate on our traditional circle of candles. So if you'll join me in imagining, or if you so choose, like I did myself, surround myself with candles, feel free. So this season is about honoring that balance of dark and light. It is a time to tend our own inner flames, the light that shines within us, and it is a time to share that light with others. So in your mind's eye, imagine a candle, or if you like, and if it's safe to do so, feel free to get a candle where you are and light it with us as you listen, whichever is safest for you. So now see this candle in your hand. Feel the waxy texture on your fingers, feel its weight and size, and observe the unlit wick. This wick is the potential point of the candle. And as we are all the point of potential for our own lives. Envision this wick bursting into ignition in one brief flash, as if by match strike. The flame lights the wick, and perhaps it sputters or wavers, but it does remain stable and lit. This flame is small and almost fragile looking amidst the darkness of night surrounding it. Yet this one single flame holds such bright light and vigorous warmth. So too do we all hold such light and warmth within us, even in the darkest of times. And just like this one candle, we are all one of many lights, one of many peoples. As you look at and focus your candle's orange-yellow flame in your mind, imagine in your peripheral vision the tiny sparks of light beginning to emerge to your left and to your right. Each flame on the edges of your vision is a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a loved one, or any of the other people in your lives that surround you on a daily basis. They are your circle of light. As our congregation has done years past and will do so many years to come, we gather at this time of year to not only honor the cycle of the seasons and the balance of the light and dark, but we also gather to hold each other in community. We gather our small flames together in a circle of love, of compassion, and of hope. In your mind's eye, imagine those small flames coming closer to you, side by side with you. And you can look to either side and see the faces of those loved ones and neighbors and even strangers gathered around in a circle of fellowship together. Feel their presence near you. See their smiling faces, warm and welcoming, full of love. We are all here together in our hearts, in the circle of light this night. Hold this feeling of community warmly in your heart and carry it with you into the coming days. I'm very thankful for everyone that's joined us tonight. And I hope that those watching from Zoom or Facebook and even later after the solstice, I want you to know that I'm glad that you're here with us and know that we feel that you are with us. And we hope that if you are interested, you would join us in the future. I'll do my little spiel. If you want to join us in Zoom in the future, there's a visitors link in the Facebook comments. And again, those attending Zoom, here's the benefit, guys. We're going to be doing carols after the recording. Haha. So we do fun things after the recorded bit. And these carols were emailed to those that were on the Connections email list. So they'll be with your order of service. So you can join us in caroling, although there'll be a special extra song that will be joining tonight as well. 2 extra songs. Okay, 2 extra songs. I see from Danny. So we will have those after the service is completed and after we close with a musical postlude from Linda Littrell. Thank you everyone for being here with us tonight.